It's too perfect. All right, we're wearing this hat. I was gonna make this video a couple weeks ago, and I just never got around to it because who gets around to making a video like this? It's just not on your to-do list, right? But it's timing, the content I've been making lately in regards to like love, dating, and relationships, and then the comments more than anything. Because you guys are leaving comments on old videos and you guys are asking where my ex is. I shouldn't even say that. You guys, you guys are asking where Karina is, and I would be dumb to not like. I feel funny saying my ex, Karina, blah blah blah, all this stuff because it's like you guys know, it is what it is. Just be mature about it. So some of those videos are still because they're being monetized or they're brand deals. They got a lot of views, right? And then some of them, obviously, it's not like you guys are looking for them, but I took them down because that would be weird to keep them up. Um, yeah, we broke up. Well, let me go into this. I think we should normalize not just people talking about their breakups, and I mean this with boundaries, definitely with boundaries. There needs to be some boundaries there. But we should normalize people talking about relationships and their breakups, but specifically dudes, because not enough do it. And luckily, I'm pretty open about this stuff, but I don't let a lot of my personal life out on the internet for as often as I post. I'll give my opinion on stuff, right? But I don't let stuff out like this that often. It just happens, and then you go on with it, kind of like everybody else. Um, so, because we should normalize it because there's a lot of things that we can learn and from other people. And I'm not some expert. I'm just saying, like, I've gone through stuff. I can tell you what I've experienced and what I've learned, and maybe it'll help certain people out along the way in their relationships or whatever they're going through with their breakup and everything like that. So I'll jump straight into it because I'm putting it off. We broke up in January this year. I'll get into how we broke up later. Let me let me go into the relationship first, right? Not that there's like there's nothing bad. It's like, well, I don't know. I'm not. We started dating 2 years ago. We're in February 2018, and I would say that the first thing that I learned from this relationship later on down the line. This is the big one of the biggest things. Boundaries are so important. Like boundaries are like so much more important than you would imagine. And we know that they're important, but I mean, especially at the beginning, crazy important. And I'm not saying that that will make or break your relationship. Sometimes it will, many times it will. But they're just healthy. They're there not to just protect you, not to protect your partner, but to keep a healthy flow of like bonding and communication going at the right pace when your boundaries are set up like correctly, I should say. Um, I'm not gonna edit any of this. We're just going all the way through, guys, straight straight through. So forgive me for my stuttering or yeah, it's not. It's it's a lot to talk about. I don't mean that like emotionally. I just mean like sitting in front of a camera and talking about a breakup. You know, it's just funny. Um, so so yeah, boundaries. Boundaries are super important. Like with this relationship, and this has nothing to do with whether it worked out or not. Like it wasn't gonna work out either way, right? Um, but the boundaries. So this is the thing. When you start dating somebody, there's some of you that have dated people, and off the bat, you were just like, "Oh, I connect with this person. Like like, you are like amazing. Like you're so much in common. You guys get along. Like you're making each other laugh. You got those like butterflies and stuff like that, right? And like that's awesome. That's dope. But what happens is when you don't have boundaries set up to regulate that, it goes into this overdrive and what some people would call infatuation, or it's like you feel this feeling, and it's like there's this unwritten standard or unwritten like law or code between both of you. It's just like this unwritten like rule that you just crumple up and throw away. What I don't know the analogy to use, but you guys both. It's almost like you guys, without saying, agree on just knocking boundaries down and letting this like flood of feelings just rush into your guys' relationship, and that's what like Karina and I did. So like I think for you guys, when you meet somebody uh, and off the bat you're just like, I really feel some type of way about this person. Don't I don't want to say you need to be guarded or closed off. I mean, like you don't need to be closed off, but you do need to set up boundaries that are like, I am not going to share vulnerable details about my past. I'm not going to, and they don't even have to be that big of a deal. I'm not saying you have anything to hide. Like I didn't have anything crazy, you know what I mean? But it's the fact that like you guys shouldn't be sharing that stuff yet off the bat because you are going to jump into a phase of the relationship where your guys' feelings for each other can't sustain you. Does that make sense? So it's like my parents and like a lot of other people in my family, they've been married for like years and years and years. And like they've been telling me, and I've been learning this, right? Like majority of love, like the vast majority of it, it's a choice. Like you choose to be with this person every single day. And that love is developed over time, right? Like at one point they were together for only a week, but they've been together for 20 years. My parents been together for 30 years now, right? And that choice and that threshold and that will to make it work is something that happens over time, right? And some of the situations and vulnerable conversations that you get into with a partner after that long, that needs to happen on its own. And when you first meet somebody and you might think like, I really love this person, and maybe you do, like, awesome. That doesn't mean that those boundaries don't need to be there, because what will happen when those boundaries are out there, they're going to take you to this spot where, although your feelings are intense for each other and like you're like, this is the one, this is it. Your love for each other is still in such infantile stages that it's not going to be able to support some of the things that come along with those types of interactions, with those types of um, transactions of vulnerable words. Like, does it make sense? It's kind of like you get into this area of the relationship so quick that you are forced to, your love is forced to be put on the spot many times. And it's like, listen, like you've brought yourself this far. You are saying that you feel this way, but when the rubber hits the road, are you really gonna go, and are you gonna continue with those consistencies even through the hard stuff? Speaking with a lot of analogies right now, and I apologize. It's like you need boundaries because things are gonna get hard really fast, especially when you are so comfortable with each other. You guys are just so willing to put yourselves in certain situations that are probably not situations that you should be in that early. And like, I don't mean like the honeymoon stage of things. Like, I just mean like, so for like, this is no like question. So like, for my ex and I, we like off the bat said I love you super super fast, and like, you know, I think when I said it, I genuinely meant it. No, I think I did. I felt a very different type of way about her. And I was like single for like 6 years, 6.5 years, from like 22, 23 until I was, till I was 28. And I dated girls like casually. Like I saw some girls actually pretty consistently, in the sense of like we would go to dinner like every couple of weeks, or we'd be texting here and there, and it's just like for like 4, 5, 6 months, constant contact, but There's never any the ball rolling. Like I didn't have commitment issues or nothing. Like it was just I just wasn't meeting nobody that interests me, and it's just how it was. And actually, no, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't have commitment issues. I definitely didn't because when I met my ex, like I was like, okay, cool. Like I'll commit. Boom. Like I'll marry you. I will. Let's go. I'm down. You know. So it wasn't even a commitment thing. I think I just. But part of it was I think that during that period of time, not that this has anything to do with my breakup. This is just a random side note. Maybe some of you guys feel this way too. I set my standards so high that I boxed myself out and I said I just have high standards. That's why I'm not choosing this person or that person. Um, you know what I mean? And even to the point where I was like thinking, I'm just not gonna find nobody. Even though I know that I could, and I knew that at some point it was just gonna be my decision on my own. Um, Not my own, but obviously like when I found somebody, you know. So ended up meeting my ex, and wanted to be with her off the bat. She wanted to be with me, and the reason I brought up boundaries earlier is because off the bat we were very, very like just going at it. Like I mean, and I don't, I don't that sounds so much worse. We're not going at it like fighting. We're not going at it physically, like in like a sexual way. I mean, like we were just like in these deep conversations, quick. Like this conversation, you go to like 3, 4, 5 in the morning type of thing. You talk for like 6 hours, you don't even realize it, right? And we started talking, and then we started dating, like literally like 2.5, 3 weeks later, something like that, or not even it was less than a month, and I don't remember the exact time frame, but it was definitely less than a month. Like the first time, like we met over Instagram, and then the first time we met was on Valentine's Day, and then we started dating or like whatever dated we were together on Valentine's Day, and like I think we filled the situation with so much uh, cliche romanticism that it kind of like deceived us to an extent, and made us think that the situation was something more than it really was. And I don't mean that like we didn't feel very strongly for each other, or that we didn't really, really like at that point have really intense feelings, you know. But I mean some of the stuff I think that's like we met on Valentine's like we the first time we met was on Valentine's Day. Like we had all these intense conversations. Like we were saying like, oh no, I think like you're saying things just like, you know, that you say to people. It's like, no, I really want to be with, like, I want to marry you, all this stuff, right? So and it's weird. When you get older, it's the weirdest thing because it's like you can choose whoever you want to marry, right? So it's like when you're old enough to marry somebody, it's a very like odd thing to think about, especially when you start saying that to somebody because it's like it's real, right? It's very real. So I think that was like one of the bigger things too. Like I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I highly recommend if you want to marry somebody, don't say it like early. Wait until that conversation comes up on its own. Because we were saying that like way too early. And it got like, it's like I said earlier, it pushed our relationship into a phase that was almost too early, and we weren't able to support ourselves with just the intense feelings that we had. There was other variables that come along with life that just we didn't have that yet, right? Like we didn't. There was a lot of things we just hadn't addressed. We addressed every feeling you could possibly think of which we felt about each other. We addressed every vulnerable thought in regards to like a lot of personal things, a lot of important stuff, right? Um, which is good. You should talk about stuff like that, just not the first month you guys are dating, you know? And I think back that's a boundary that should have been set in place, but it's like a lot of people just won't do that. And people listening to this, you're probably still not going to do that. You're going to end up meeting somebody. You're like, I love this person so much. This is who I want to marry, blah, blah, blah. And you might make the same mistakes. But if you do have the opportunity to not do certain things, I highly recommend, don't talk about marriage really early and don't get into all of your laundry yet, you know, your dirty laundry with this person yet. Because it's not because like they're probably a bad person. Like my ex, not a bad person. Like I don't regret like being vulnerable with her about any of that stuff or nothing like that. It's not that at all. It's the idea that your love for this person is not mature enough yet to treat them like your wife. Like like you're just or your husband if you're a girl talking about a dude, It's just it's not there yet. Your choice, you can make that choice, right? Um but also even then if you just have to make the choice because you're forcing yourself to be there that quick, it's not yeah, you shouldn't you shouldn't be doing that, saying that stuff in the first place. Yeah, hold back with all this stuff. So back to my relationship or my whatever. So we got really serious really fast, and some of the other boundaries that we passed were like things that, like, I don't know. It's like usually there's things that you do where it's like you grow into that. It's like pooping around each other, right? Like using the bathroom around each other. Like it's like if I was in the next room and like she had to use the bathroom, then all right, like I didn't care. Like we had open conversations about stuff that is so trivial and dumb to think about, but it's probably stuff that should happen later on down the line on its own, not just like, oh, I love you so much and I'm so comfortable with you and I'm gonna be with you forever. Like we can talk about this stuff already. I know this sounds dumb, like conversations about using the bathroom are not gonna make or break your relationship. It's just another example of like let things happen on their own. Don't bring this stuff up like that, you know? Um, it is what it is. Using the bathroom on each other could just be random. Don't matter. Um, so yeah, got serious really fast. And when we started getting into those stages that we kind of hyper scaled our relationship, I'll use that word. We scaled our relationship very, very fast with some of the conversations we had were very serious and we start talking about marriage too early, right? So when we got to some of these stages, like 4 or 5, 6 months in, we started having like conflicts about, and not intense ones. Like they were at the early stages, they were actually very mature to some extent, right? Like we would just kind of talk them out, and it would be like, okay, yeah, because we're kind of still in the honeymoon stage, and it would be about things like I don't know, we'd be talking about things in regards to money, or you know, conversations about stuff in the future that just hadn't even happened yet. Like all kinds of stuff, like talking about things in regards to like I don't know, like buying house, like just stuff that just we weren't there yet. And another thing I learned was like communication styles are not to be played around with. Like so we got to this part of the relationship that we scaled to really fast, and I don't think our maturity was there to support some of these conversations. You know, so they turned into at first they were mature conflict, and then they turned into just like ridiculous stuff, like just stupid petty arguments that everyone has. Dumb, just button of heads and getting on each other's nerves a little bit, and then you go through phases of that, right? Like things are good, things are bad, but I also learned that sometimes, not sometimes, people are just like different, and that's completely okay. And like I think that like because we scaled into this so fast, I think that when it came to the differences that we had in like the way that we lived our lives before we met each other, we jumped into it so quick that we didn't even know how to adjust to that. Because I'm like she was somebody that really wanted to just stay home sometimes when she was just tired. Like she just needed to chill out. She didn't want to be around people because like she needed to recharge. Like there's a lot of people like that, you know. It's like I don't want to be around people right now. Like it's gonna be exhausting, right? And like I didn't acknowledge that enough. And I'm one of those people that's just like I'll stay home sometimes, right? I'm cool with that. That's fine. Like when you first start dating, you don't care where you're gonna be with this person. But I'm also that person that's like, no, let's drive to LA. Let's go next weekend. Let's go to San Francisco for the weekend. Let's go to Monterey for the weekend. Let's go on this trip. Let's go on that trip. Like I'm down. Like I'm also one of those people. So like I think once we got settled into the relationship and we had like a good rhythm going, the things like that were probably some of the hardest things early, I think, because you get like you almost get upset and like resentful where it's like because you didn't like you don't even think about the stuff up front, but it's like I remember thinking like, man, this girl don't want me to this girl's just holding me back. It's just stupid to think about now. But I remember thinking, I'm like, this girl don't want me to go nowhere. She just want me to stay home. Like we're like like we could have went somewhere like 2 weekends. Like we could have went out of town, drove like 6 hours to LA. Not 6 hours, like four and a half, five. We drove like 4 or 5 hours to LA, right? Stay the weekend there, came back, and let's just say 2 weekends in a row we stay in. Like I think there are times where I was just like, we're gonna stay in again. What am I doing? Like I remember being upset about stuff like that and thinking like yo, what what's going on? I got to go out and do something. And it's funny to think about now, but like in the time, it was upsetting, and on her side too. Like it was probably like hey, we just went somewhere. Like I didn't recharge. I'm not trying to be out around all these like loud people at this restaurant that like there's all kinds of stuff going on and like I like and and I think that like I think about it, like I didn't acknowledge it like that kind of stuff up front. But you don't think about it, right? You're just I don't know. I think in the moment I was probably being selfish. Um, but so things like that come up. I don't even know where I'm at, guys. I'm sorry. Uh, I hope this is all making sense. So things like that come up, um, and I think like a year into it, especially in your late 20s, she's like no, she's like late 20s. We'll consider late 20s. She is not considered. She is late 20s, and I was late 20s when we first started dating. Um, a year into it, stuff gets really serious. Like in the sense of like, all right, a year into any relationship, as an adult is kind of like if it's serious, conversations end up being had. You know what I mean? Like about your beliefs, about all this stuff, right? If you're slow into it. Now we already had a bunch of conversations like that early on. So a year into it, it really felt like, man, is rubber gonna hit the road? And this is where I think stuff started like going off, and we were masking the problems in the relationship with things that just made us feel good. When that could be, it was a lot of things, right? Um, like physical stuff, or gifts, or like we'd go travel all over the place, and um, like yeah. And I don't mean this like I hope that no one's taking this like stuff as bad. Like the good parts of our relationship were like great. They were like really great. Like I had nothing bad to say about Karina. Zero. Like there's not a bad person. None of that. There's nothing bad I can say about her like that, right? Like I think anyone could say negative things about their ex or someone that they don't have a thing with anymore. Sorry, someone's looking at me right now. It was weird. They're walking by. I think anyone could say something bad about like people that they've dated if they really wanted to. Like, but I mean, like, who Karina is, like, there's nothing I can say about her. She's not. She got a good family. She's a good person. She's not like a weirdo, you know. So I don't want none of this to be taken the wrong way. Um, like, a year into it, stuff is like kind of like, oh, we we're really here. Like we've been dating for a year. We started talking about marriage early on in the relationship. Like this is really gonna happen. And when you're actually, I said this earlier, but when you're an adult and you're actually able to do that, stuff gets very real very fast, and you start thinking like, well, the normal things that everyone thinks about. What do I really want out of a marriage? Like, what is a marriage supposed to be? What do I believe a marriage is supposed to be, and all this stuff, right? And like, we have different beliefs in regards to like uh, a lot of things, and a lot of those things, they don't matter entirely, like in the sense of like those types of opinions can change, but there's some things that we had very different opinions on in regards to like our beliefs about like life. Like I'm Christian, and she wasn't, and like so, just that in itself, our opinions on certain things spawned conflict in regards to marriage, and and some of those things, even in regards, let's talk about the things. So there's that part, right? But some of the things that we had different opinions on in regards to marriage, um, they didn't have anything to do with my beliefs or her beliefs, just like on a spiritual level. They were things that had to do with like no judgment. Like it's just like I'm trying to be as like it's like she didn't want to have kids. There's a highly likely that she didn't want to have kids after us dating. I mean, at one point she did a little bit, or she did, and then we didn't, and then we both didn't, and then we both did. It's just, conversations going up and down. But at a certain point, she didn't want to have kids. She said, and and like if you don't want to have kids, that's cool. Like that's fine, you know. And I think for a little while I didn't want to have kids either. Like before I started dating her, I didn't know if I wanted to have kids. I was like, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, I'm not trying. You know what I mean? Like if I meet somebody and we end up having a kid together, great. But then dating her because my feelings were so strong for her, I was like, okay, yeah, I can see I kind of want kids, and and she didn't, and that's fine, and that was a conflict right there, So that was one thing, and that turned into even just that alone. Like take this for example. We agreed on I agreed with her where it's like it wasn't. I was like, okay, I care about you. If we don't have kids, I'm with you to be with you. I'm not with you just to get kids from you. And it got to that point to where I was like, I'll still be with you. Like this isn't like I'm with you because I want to be with you, not because I want to have kids only with you. And that even turned into something where it's like, she would feel bad about it 'cause she was like, I feel terrible because I can't give you like what you want because I don't want that. So she would feel like that's a conflict right there. You know what I mean? And it's crazy to think about because you're like, you both care about each other. And it's like, you think that you not sacrificing, but you think that you saying, okay, you know what? This is a decision that we both need to make. I'd rather be with you than have kids. You think that that's going to make the situation better, but then really it's like there's still the other side where it's like they want to be able to give you something too, and they feel bad that they don't want to, you know. And it's like there was almost it was all. Just think of that. Like you could both be putting in effort, and the product of the situation could still be some type of issue. And it wasn't an issue that she had with me, and it wasn't an issue that I had with her. It was just like an elephant in the room. And like, not that we never talked about it. It was just more like, how do you solve that? You can't. It's like no matter how you talk about it, it's like you can't. It's just the most wild thing to think about. And so there's things like that. There was things like where she felt odd about changing her last name. And like, there's a lot of girls that are like that. I mean, for me, I think whoever I marry, I want them to take my last name. I don't even care if there's a hyphen. Do a hyphen. That's dope. But she didn't want to take my last name at all. And there's nothing wrong with that. Not something that I want from when I marry somebody. I want my wife is going to take my last name. The person I marry will take my last name. There will be a hyphen. Like it's going to be probably part of the criteria as well as they're going to have criteria for me. right? So I'm not forcing nobody. I'm just saying, like, you know what I mean? I wasn't gonna force her, but that was an issue right there too. It's like she didn't want to take my last name. I felt odd about it. Maybe something petty for there to be conflict over, but there was conflict over it. And yeah, it was those are very specifics, but those are just things that I'm bringing up because it's like you should think about that. There's a lot of issues like that. There's a lot of topics like that, and there's just a ton of variables that pop up that you don't even expect to be there. Right? Some of those variables are kind of static in the sense of like you see them, you forecast them, boom. Like you can kind of anticipate when they're going to pop up and when you're going to need to solve for them. Some of them are just, they kind of fall into your lap and you don't realize that, oh, I'm this deep in this formula. I'm not going to be able to move past her until I try to figure this out, you know? So there's a lot of things like that. That was about a year to like a year and a half in the relationship. The arguments and conflict was getting a little bit more intense, and it never got like so much intense to where like we didn't have some like physically abusive relationship. It wasn't like some wild thing like that, you know, at all. But like we would like get very very upset with each other, and like there'd be I think it was like a constant. At some points, it was like it would go good. Like some points, you'd be like, okay, I am happy with this person, love this person. Like I know it's gonna be hard, but like I still want to be with this person, you know. And other times you're just constant conflict, and you're just constantly trying to put out fires, and there's just grown issues that you don't know that you were choosing to be involved in. I think you lie to yourself sometimes when you get into like a serious relationship and you think that like if you meet the right person, that's just less conflict. And I don't know if I feel like that. I think that it's always going to be conflict. It's just how do you deal with it, and are you going to choose to try to solve these issues with somebody? And I don't know, kind of more in that direction. Not that I mean, some people argue more than others, right? Some people butt heads more than others, but it's still that's always going to be there. Maybe at different levels, different intensities, but so that was a year and a half in. Stuff started getting more intense, and then we were still talking about marriage, but I started getting into this thing where it's like I didn't know if it's not that I didn't know. I think I knew, and I lied to myself. Um, because like her mom gave would give my mom, her mom, like people around us would give us very good advice. And I don't mean like it's like so good. I mean like it's real life. It's like, hey, we've been married for this long. Something to them, it's like something so little. It's like it's effort. You just gotta try. You gotta choose. You gotta do this. You gotta do that. And my mom would say the same thing. Like different people would say different things like that. But I got to the point to where I started realizing that like I don't know if I want to marry this person right now. I want to be with them, but I don't know if I want to marry this person. And and I know that she felt the same way many times. And but we didn't entirely say it. I feel like we jumped into things and scaled it so fast that we were just like, man, at certain times we felt like maybe there's no turning back. Like, or I don't want to look dumb to people. Or like, man, I said that I love this person. I'm going to marry this person in front of a lot of people. Um, man, maybe I got to go through with it. And like that wasn't all the time. That was like very small part of it. But it is, that is parts. There were small like pockets like that, I want to say. Um, you just don't, you don't want to It's a lot of things. You don't want to lose the person because that would hurt you. You don't want to hurt the person because like you care about them. You don't want to look dumb in front of people because you've been saying like I love this person, blah 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 blah. It's a lot of stuff, and those are really stupid. Not all, not the last one is really a stupid reason, but it's like it's the truth. That's how it happens sometimes. Um, so those feelings started arising. I'm sure on both ends. I can't speak for her, but I'm gonna make a big assumption and assume that's exactly how she felt too. Um, but we just didn't say that out loud entirely. But I started doing things where it's like I don't know. I would say it like I don't want to be with you. And then I think that when I said that, I think I was not. I think I was speaking truthfully, but the other side of that is that I think I loved Karina. I had love for her. I don't know if I was in love with her. I'm not. I wasn't in love with her. Or I was, but not like I loved her, and I was making the choice to continue to be with her. But when I said I don't want to be with her, I think I was speaking honestly. But the reason I would regret saying it because I said it a few times, like I don't want to be with you anymore. Like I said it a few times, and I think I would regret it instantly, not because I didn't mean it, but because I was scared of losing her. It's like I liked and I loved the idea of me being hers and hers being mine, and I loved things that we had together, the positive stuff, and there was a lot of things that I loved um, that were that might have been exclusive to just our relationship compared to the because you know when you're with people, there are certain things that are just specific to that relationship. Like they're your guys' things, you know? And I think I loved a lot of those things, but I didn't like I don't think I wanted to be with her. I was just scared of losing all of that. Does that make sense? Like I didn't want to be with her anymore. I know that she didn't want to be with me anymore after a certain point too. We were just grinding it out. Um, I didn't want to be with her anymore, but but I didn't want to lose all the good things. You know what I mean? Like I loved certain things about her, and I did have love for her. I cared about her a lot, like you know. But I was just so scared to lose those. So when I'd say that, like I don't want to be with you, I would regret it, and then it would just be this like tailwind action where it's like how is she gonna trust me after that? Like obviously, like you can't. You know, you say something like that, you can't trust somebody no more. It's like I don't mean trust like I'm gonna cheat. I never cheated. I never did none of that. But it's like, how could she trust me to stick around and like be there for her? Especially when certain things are hard here or hard there. How could she look to me for support? Like, you can't look to anyone when they're saying that. How are you gonna believe somebody that says they don't want to be with you, but yet they're sticking around, you know, um, for many times like selfish reasons. Like for me it was selfish, right? Because it's like I didn't want to lose all the good things. Um, I think also towards the end, I can't speak for her, but man, when I make these assumptions, I feel like they're kind of accurate. Like some of it's like you don't want this person to be with anyone else because you're being selfish, and then also like you don't know if you're in love with that person anymore. Like you know for a fact you love them, you care about them. Like you would die if something bad happened to them. You'd feel terrible, right? Um, but it's like you love, and it sounds so cliche, goodness, but it's like you love the idea of being with them. You love being with them, I guess, but you don't love them. You love all the good things that come with from being with them, but you don't want to make certain decisions for them as a person. It's like you don't I don't know how to explain it. It's like all the stuff that comes along with them. You love the good things, but you still don't necessarily think you're in love with them. This is like word vomit. I've been going for how long? I've been going for. There. Oh gosh, I've been talking for so long. Okay, so I started saying this, like, I don't want to be with you. And I would take it back and no, like, I try to fix it. And that just doesn't go away, you know? And I'm like a sensitive person, but I'm more like passionate, like I'm a very passionate person in the sense of like I'm honest and like I will just be like, if this is what I got to do, then I'll do it, or like I want to help people, whatever. And it's not that she's not like that, but I think that where I'm heavy in passion, she's heavy in like sensitivity. So it's like when I say things and I'm like, I don't think I want to be with you. But then I come back and I'm like, no, like I really care about you. Like I mean it. Like I want to be blah, 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 all this stuff, right? She wasn't going to get over that. And she shouldn't. She shouldn't have. Like when someone said they don't want to be with you, like, yeah, like you're not going to get over that. It is what it is, you know? Um, like if anyone tells you they don't want to be with you multiple times, it's like they probably don't, you know? They really don't. And you shouldn't be with that person. And you need to have a conversation with them. You need to talk to them and say, hey, listen, like I know that you care about me. I know you do, but it's like, do you really want to be with me? Because you're saying that you don't, and I know you might feel this certain way about me, and you might love the things we have together, but it's like, do you really want to be with me? You know? It's kind of like I feel like we didn't build a good foundation, but for what we built, there were some really good things in there. There was bad things, but there were some good things, and it's like you don't want to lose the good things, and you get scared of that, you know. And also, you get used to each other. You get scared to lose somebody, like someone. And I'm not saying she treated me like that. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying for you guys, some of you guys have been in relationships where somebody treated you bad, and you were probably still scared to lose them because it's like it doesn't mean you don't care about that person. Like for as many things that like Karina did to probably like annoy me and like just get on my get on my nerves and like piss me off. There were just as many things that she would do to like make me happy and like thoroughly like laugh at and I would enjoy. You know what I mean? So there was just like it's hard and you don't because you don't want to let go of those things, right? Um, but it started getting to that point of just like this is probably not going to work, and I just wouldn't address it. I was literally telling myself, no, we're just gonna end up getting married. Like I will chip away at this, and you start thinking that you are going to pick up the pieces for the rest of your life. And at some point, you're going to be able to rebuild. And that's true. That's true. That can happen. It's definitely possible. Without a doubt, it is possible. It's just, it's not likely, you know, especially when you've said things out loud like I did, you don't want to be with this person no more. And, I keep saying that, but it's like she didn't want to be with me anymore either. We were just I was just the idiot that said it out loud, you know? And towards the end, for the most part, neither one of us were happy. And a lot of things got immature. And like, it was just, and a lot of the stuff when I say immature, it's like certain things were just petty. Like, it's like, I could go into like, those details are like nobody's business. Not because they're like crazy, like, oh, what's going on? It's just petty, you know? Um, I mean, like stupid, like sarcasm with each other, or just like whatever. Like, I mean, like that level petty, just dumb, childish stuff. But we broke up in January because again, I abruptly told her like, hey, like I don't want to be with you. I don't. And like when I said it, I didn't mean it. I mean, I know I said it. I did mean it, but I didn't mean it in the sense of like, it was one of those situations again where I meant it. And like, I've said it and it was the truth, but I knew that I was going to regret it because I didn't mean it in the context of like I want to lose all these other good things we have, but I meant it like I did the other times. And she was like, okay, like that's fine, like whatever, like not, that is not what she. I wasn't so non. I didn't say it nonchalant like that. I wasn't like, all right, I don't want to be with you no more. And she wasn't just like, all right, that's fine, big deal, right? Obviously, there was. I said it in a very emotional way, and she took it in a very emotional way. And the next day, I regretted it, and you know, she was just like, you do this over and over, like I can't trust you, all this stuff. And then I even knew that like we shouldn't have been together. Or if we were, it needed to be different. But I knew that it was never going to be different, you know? Um, there were certain things that I think that I knew I wasn't going to change. I knew I probably wouldn't change, and I knew that she probably wouldn't change. And it's not that she was so wrong in certain ways or anything like that. It was just more like we were just different, and I don't think that we were ever going to be willing to be different enough to the extent that we could be together in something healthy. And so I told her I didn't want to be with her. She took it and said, are you like, I'm never going to be able to trust you. This is after I regret it. I'm like, hey, I regret it. Like, no. And I was trying to save the things that I loved about the relationship. And, but she was like, no, I can't trust you. And like, we went for like a month or something where we didn't really, I mean, we talked, right? It would be like I would like when we first broke up, I tried to reach out to her. There's like boom, 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 boom. Like I'm just like, nah, I don't want to lose you. Like all the cliche stuff you could possibly say. And it's like it was me trying to just like just basically just like completely like being scared of losing, like in a selfish way, being scared of losing all the things that we had built in that relationship. And like in a lot of ways, I felt stupid. Like that I'm like, I can't even make this work. I feel like an idiot. I felt obviously very sad because it's like you're very attached to this person and you go through that like I don't know what you call it, like just not seeing somebody that you've seen every single day for the last 2 years. We were just like living together basically, you know, and like going on trips everywhere and like you know just a lot. So I was like I was so scared of losing a lot of things in that relationship. And yeah. And then for months, so I was trying, I put in a lot of effort and tried, not effort, I tried and I reached out to her. Not tried. I reached out to her so many times, like just basically being like this stupid ex-boyfriend, just like, I regret it. It's long old letters, like, you know, calling her, all this stuff, like, I'm sorry, blah, 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 blah. And like it just, I shouldn't have. And we kind of stopped talking and start like it was kind of like this. It was like there was obviously like weeks where we didn't talk, and then it was like that typical stuff like that happens in a lot of relationships where it's like she makes an excuse to reach out to me. We talk. I start making it like taking that as like an open entry to be like, okay, let's have conversations again. And then point of time where it's like maybe we're gonna get back together, maybe not. Kind of using, not knowing what's gonna happen, but using each other's company again or conversations as a crutch to get through whatever breakup, so that we don't have to just completely rip the band-aid off, you know. And you know, talking again for a few months, and then, but not really talking. Like just conversations where, like, who knows, kind of just enjoying, I guess, each other's conversation, each other's, the dialogue. And then I got to the point where at the end there was like, when you don't date somebody, you break up and you talk to them less and less and less. It doesn't make it harder. A lot of times it's still hard. Don't be wrong. Like, that breakup was hard. It was very hard. It was a while ago now. It's like 10, 11 months ago now, but it was hard. Like, I'd be a liar if I said it wasn't. 10 months, something like that. 10, 11 months. It was hard. Um, so, but it was, at some point it stopped. It wasn't getting harder, us not being together, right? And at some point it stopped. And it's like, I stopped thinking about, like, are we gonna get back together? I hope we get back together. And she, I'm sure, felt the same way to some, like, at maybe even before me. It's just like, what I will say when I want to end it on is this, right? Like, if you're a dude or if you're a girl and you just went through a breakup, like, I'm gonna tell you right now, you don't want to hear this. And this is like the cliche thing that everyone tells you. Like, I promise, like, man, first of all, you have a relationship with God. Like, you need to have one. Like, you're not gonna be able to get through nothing hard without God. You're not gonna be able to get through you're not gonna be able to get through the best of things in your life without God, to be honest. Like, you can't get through nothing, right? And if you do, it's still by his graces and blessings. You just don't want to be um, ungrateful, you know. But I will say that you need to pray, obviously, and also from the human perspective, outside the spiritual stuff, it's going to be very hard. Like, I thought that I was going to marry this person. Like, I wanted, at one point, I really wanted to. Genuine believed it. Was like, I'm going to make this decision. Like, this is what I want to do. And so when we broke up, it was very hard. And I know that you might be going through a breakup, and it's probably very, very hard. Um, it's going to be hard, like, for a little while. It's definitely going to be like this. It's not going to be clear cut. And if it is, praise God, you know. But it will, I promise you, it will get better. I promise you, at some point, it won't feel that way at all. I promise. Like, you got to go through the storm. It's a rite of passage. It's part of what will turn you into even more of a man or more of a woman. Like, you have to experience that heartbreak to really understand a lot of things about life. As corny as that sounds, but I promise you, like, no matter what phase you're at right now, if it's really hard, like it will get better, and at some point it will go away completely. All right, I can tell you, I promise. That's why I'm making this video. Okay, so I hope this helped you out. I don't know what else to say. If you have any other questions, send me a DM. Maybe leave them in the comment. Don't matter. If you have any questions, just reach out to me, and hopefully, this spoke and to somebody that really needed to hear it. So, love you guys. Read your Bibles. Go surrender your life to God. All right, Jesus.